Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up, the WNW 298 for Friday, August 25th, 2017. I got to tell you, the mainstream press is the crazy propaganda press is now calling the president of the United States crazy. That's what they got left. That's what they're down to. Nothing's working. They're desperate. They're hyperventilating. They're watching him with his fans who love him more than ever at his rallies, and they're freaking out because they cannot destroy this man. But I want to just come up with the thing on USA Today. You know, the propaganda news of USA Today, the same company that's lost 40% of its stock value about since January 1st of 2016, the kickoff of the presidential run up until now. Talk of Trump's mental health spreads. This is what they're passing off as a news story. Talk of Trump's mental health spreads because we want it to spread. Because we want this to be a theme where we get it out in the mainstream, in the vernacular, so people think that he's crazy. And, that's not a news story. Any doctor, any medical psychiatrist that signs on to Donald Trump is crazy by watching him on TV and making a medical evaluation that the president of the United States is crazy is a quack. They should lose their medical license. Boom, just like that. Boom, give me your license, get out. They're ridiculously not. I wouldn't go to them for a Band-Aid if they're that reckless and that far afield from what practicing sound psychiatric evaluation in medicine really is. To watch somebody on TV and then tell the USA Today Donald Trump's crazy. Quackery. That's a whole thing that's coming on. Don Lemon was, I questioned the president. Other people, many people to think the president's crazy. And then James Clapper, the former Defense National Intelligence, the director of the National Intelligence, the liar that lied to Congress about how, we're not bulk data collecting, perjury, the perjurer. He's talking about downright scary and disturbing, Donald Trump's speech in Phoenix. It's scary and disturbing. Like the question that the guy that has the nuclear football that protects America. This is the guy that is a liar, a perjurer that should have gone to jail for perjuring himself under oath in front of Congress. And just the chorus of people that are, they're down to this, and they're freaking out. Whether it's Susan Rice who unmasked all these people, whether it's Comey or the people at the FBI. I mean, there's a lot of people, the Clintons, the people that supported the Clintons. A lot of people committed fraud and treason, and the noose is tightening. And now we have, Congressman Rohrabacher, who went and talked to Julian Assange. He's trying to get a deal with Assange to give him immunity for saying where did he get his information, and it's not the Russians. And everybody in Washington knows the Russians didn't hack the DNC servers. Obviously, Robert Mueller has never gone after the servers. He's never asked for the servers. James Comey never asked for the DNC, the only piece of evidence, the DNC servers, never asked for that. And then what we have in the Senate is the CIA director, Mike Pompeo, wanting to criminalize WikiLeaks and make WikiLeaks like a terror group, a journalism organization. That's outrageous. Now, so far, 14 out of 15 senators in the committee voted to clear the bill that makes WikiLeaks a terrorist organization, a non-state actor of terrorism. I believe that's what they call it. It's outrageous. This is really outrageous. And they're doing it because of the Russian hacking, the information that was turned over to him that everybody knows wasn't turned over by the Russians to WikiLeaks. It was probably an insider, maybe Seth Rich. Everybody in Washington knows it wasn't the Russians. Even the ultra left-wing, The Nation, knows it wasn't the Russians. And yet they're going to try to criminalize Julian Assange and WikiLeaks, a journalism organization that has never been wrong in 10 years. They do not post fake news. They don't. But USA Today sure does. And this was the story, the headline, USA Today runs by the fake news story playbook. Washington Times, they're talking about This is the premise of the story. This is a story that USA Today ran. Some big breaks, some big scoop. You know that the Trump family and their friends with their houses, they're bankrupting the Secret Service. They're bankrupting America. That was basically the premise. I'm summing it up for you. America with huge Secret Service costs protecting the first family and others, except for, according to the Washington Times, this is 8/22/17, their summation is, well, Trump and his family didn't cause this problem. It's a budgeting problem. It existed for a decade. Actually, it started, under the Obama administration, and the strains on the Secret Service and the budgeting process and people hitting their limit for overtime and things like that. What the USA Today failed to quote, because they went to the guy who quoted the article and said, well, they left out some stuff. That wasn't what I really said. I said it was just a general problem. Congress on both sides is working to fund the Secret Service to protect, the first family and the people that need to be protected in the family with various residents. I mean, well, but the Washington Times says, listen, the fake news is out there. They put a story out. They didn't retract it that I know of. And I read their paper every day, as sickening as it is, because I just want to see what kind of entrainment and what kind of lies they're going to tell. And but that story is now out there that the Trumps somehow are breaking the Secret Service and bankrupting them, which is totally fake news. And where is Google and YouTube and Cloudflare and Mozilla Firefox? Why aren't they penalizing USA Today for obvious fake news stories and fake polling and the fakery of all the mainstream media? Washington Post with their fake news about the fake news about very, very dodgy sources, actually terrible sources. They got threatened and sued over it. It's unbelievable. And the New World Order people are basically going into hyperbolic conniptions because nothing's working. Nothing's working. Their New World Order plan is falling apart. People are going to go to jail. They committed fraud and crime for this. This is how Hillary, I think, got away with all the stuff with her global charity fraud. But here's the headline: UN Racism Committee issues warning over U.S. tensions. And listen to how they spin this. Yahoo News: President Donald Trump has been widely criticized for his response to the Charlottesville's classes. He's widely criticized by the people that hate him. He's not widely criticized by America. This is the false news, false narratives of the fake news. Widely criticized by people that hate him, by the fake news, because they hate him. And then if you go in here, it just says that he's widely criticized for the Charlotte collapses after he said both sides were to blame. And then we go down here, we are alarmed by the racist demonstrations and overly racist slogans, chants, salutes by white nationalists, neo-Nazis, Ku Klux Klan, promoting white supremacy and inciting racial discrimination and hatred. And, committee, this is committee head Anastasia Crickley said in a statement. This is the head of the racism committee. And, that's just so one-sided, so fake news, so New World Order, because, they fail to acknowledge the Antifa. They fail to acknowledge the anti-fascists. You talk about Nazis, they're repugnant. KKK, terrible, you betcha. But the anti-fascists, who are the anti-fascists? Well, this is from the Epoch Times, the communist origin of Antifa extremist group. Antifa extremist group. This is the communist origin of the Antifa. Look what they said here. A group promoted communist dictators in Germany on Soviet Union's behalf and labeled all the ideologies other than communism as fascism. They promoted communist dictators in Germany on the Soviet Union's behalf. Well, let's talk about the communists. We talk about Hitler and him killing all these Jews, and he did, and he's repugnant, and the Nazis are terrible. Well, let's take a look at Joseph Stalin, Mr. Communist-in-Chief of the USSR. In his reign of nearly 25 years, he murdered 50 million people. Chairman Mao Zedong, the father of the Chinese Revolution, murdered a mere 20 million people, but did it in a year. And then there's all kinds of other terrible communists, Pol Pot, and you have Ceausescu in Yugoslavia, and you have the the Castro brothers are repressive, repulsive communists, and add them all up, you got about 100 million dead people from communism. That's pretty bad, isn't it? So when President Trump said both parties are bad and both parties are, you betcha. Paul Ryan, you should be ashamed of yourself. You're siding with the murderous communists. Both sides are murderous. These are people that are reportedly, at least some of them, are paid by people like George Soros. I mean, after all, we have the Beverly Hills Antifa chanting in the street, George Soros, pay us our money. Widely reported George Soros sending spies and having a network of spies in the United States. He ought to be under arrest for trying to overthrow the United States, under RICO, under the NDAA, you name it. He should be under arrest, and his assets should be confiscated. And put that down on the national deficit. How about that? Hey, put that down on the border wall. It's just absolutely outrageous that there are people in Donald Trump's own party that just skewer him. And then when he skewers them back, like Mitch McConnell, who now says, we're not going to get tax cuts done this year. Why not, Mitch? That's your purview. What happened? You blew the health care bill. Oh, that's right. Mitch McConnell, elder statesman of the Senate, and with all this experience, he can't count to 50. He doesn't know he doesn't have 50 votes in the Senate trying to pass the health care bill. I think he got what he knew he was going to get, and that was it was going to be a failure. He could stand up there with his big lip. We tried. And now what are you going to do? So you're not going to get health care done. You're not going to do tax cuts. What are you doing to earn your money? You're blocking Donald Trump. Hey, so is Paul Ryan. That's why people are looking at this debt ceiling, not because the Democrats are going to be a big blocker of this. It might be the very top heads of the House and the Senate. It may be Ryan and McConnell that kibosh Donald Trump and then try to blame him for a crashing economy. Don't think it's going to work. I do not think it's going to work. And what is going on with this Antifa is basically is violence. And look at this. This is the Antifa or the alt-left. Look. Let's just read this here. This is a little tweet with a picture. This is the Patriot Prayer rally. Is a Nazi white supremacist event, which is total false. I'll be there to crush some skulls, and there he is with a bat. Yeah, nobody's shouting that down. Listen, Antifa, communist, atheist, and these aren't atheists live and let live atheists, cool atheists that are just like, I don't care, I don't believe in God, and I don't care if you do. Oh, no. These are atheists that want to kill you if you don't believe in them as God. These are the people that are branding everybody that voted for Donald Trump a white Nazi KKK nationalist. And these are the communists that are being paid to try to overthrow the country. I've got Steve Quayle, the famed radio talk show host, filmmaker, book author, who's going to be on for the early Sunday release. And he says, listen, 25 years ago, Quayle tells me, I said we were headed for a civil war. Now, it's not going to be the Civil War with, the blue uniforms and the gray uniforms, but it's going to be tons of chaos. And the reason why it's going to be tons of chaos and the reason why this is going to happen, nothing is working. This thing about Donald Trump being a white supremacist KKK member and all of his voters, that's ridiculous. I mean, they're grasping at straws for that. And this idea that somehow he's mentally ill, grasping at straws. Robert Mueller, who's supposed to be investigating Russian hacking at the DNC, the only piece of evidence is the DNC server or servers. And, he has yet to even mosey over to the DNC and said, hey, where are those? Hey, where are those servers? No, he's investigating everything else and setting, going to a place, Washington and putting, people, doing, courtroom antics where he is gone to a place where 96% of the people, voted for Hillary Clinton and trying to get indictments. I mean, I guess you could indict, as they say, you can indict a ham sandwich. You can indict anybody if you have enough people who hate Donald Trump. You can indict anybody that's around him. These grand juries that he is playing, I think that he is just stretching it. I don't think he has a case. I don't think there is any collusion. Even the ultra left-wing liberal newspaper, The Nation, wrote a big piece about how they don't think it's any They don't think that it was Trump and Russian collusion. It was an insider. Most people, everybody in Washington knows that by now. It was an insider. Maybe like somebody like Seth Rich, who was mad that Bernie Sanders got screwed out of the Democratic nomination, that he was cheated out of it. Here's another show thing. I got a couple of things here. One done here by the liars at WAPO and ABC. Washington. I don't believe anything they say. They slant everything. Everything they try to pass off as a story is their opinion. Like I've been telling you that it's not really news reporting. It's they see something, they say, well, here's my take on it. Well, that's not reporting. That's analysis. That's op-ed. That's constant, continual op-ed. But let's go right here with poll shows clear disapproval of how Trump responded to Charlottesville violence. Yeah, no, the poll that they created, that they wanted to create so they would back up that shows widespread disapproval. This is the kind of stuff they did. Remember in the beginning remember in the campaign where I said all the polls are lying. Hillary's way ahead. Hillary's up by 16%. She's up by 12%. There's no way she won't win this. I said all the polls are lying. She'll never be president. Here we are again. They come up with a phony storyline, and then they go do a phony poll to try to back up their phony storyline. And when they say, it shows clear disapproval of how Trump responded to the Charlottesville violence. Not if they knew that the Antifa were absolute communists, and the communists that are murderous weasels, and the people that are paid, and the whole thing was set up. And now we have Louis Gohmert saying that the governor of Virginia, Terry McAuliffe, the mayor Singer, they ought to be investigated. I mean, he says that this was proven in the past that the DNC and Democrats were paying for people to do violent things and then blame the violent things on Trump supporters and Trump voters. And here this is just more of the same. But, the mainstream press, they don't look at any of that because they are propaganda. They're not really press. And I say that this is my take on it. We're gonna have just analysis, which is what I actually do. I don't claim that I am giving you only the news. I say analyze the news to give you a clear picture of what's going on. But here's what I say. I say fake, distorted polling to justify and legitimize a totally fake news of the dying propaganda media. I mean, listen, they couldn't keep him out of the White House, and I don't think they'll be able to blow him out of the White House. But we may get into a heck of a nasty civil war, which is being paid for and fomented by people on the left and by big money on the left, people like George Soros and the Luciferians in this world. Here we have 22 million. This is another takeoff on this poll. 22 million Americans support neo-Nazis, new poll indicates. This is this Washington Post ABC poll. Really, 22 million. Does anybody really believe there are 22 million Americans that firmly believe in the KKK and the neo-Nazis? I mean, this is outrageous. I would bet that if you got all the people together that are neo-Nazis and KKK, I don't think they would fill a half a stadium. If you take a look at the percentage, probably 1,000ths of 1%, but yet this extrapolation, 22 million Americans support neo-Nazis in a new poll, and this is the UK Independent. Of course, this is trying to back up, I guess, this world global fake news to everybody in the world that the United States is full of neo-Nazis and KKK members, which is totally bogus. Listen, I'm not a neo-Nazi or a KKK member, but I believe in the First Amendment. And this is the problem with the First Amendment by the left. They want to restrict the First Amendment to only speech that they like, and that's a slippery slope. Where do you stop the restriction of speech? At what point do you stop the restriction of speech? That's why you have to put up with this far crazy wackadoodle stuff from people like the KKK and also people from the communists at Antifa. This is the wackadoodle stuff. But neither one should be committing violence. This is only their speech, not violence. And if they would have put that poll that Antifa are communist and communists responsible, if you add up all the biggies, I mean, if you just add up Stalin and Mao Zedong, you got about 70 million people, maybe 80. I mean, all told, 100 million murdered by these communists. You either think and live the way we want you to and like it, or we'll kill you. That's communism, folks. That's the communism we're talking about here. And just to let you know that it's not just by imagination that when the media is biased, they are really propaganda. And I've held up the definition of propaganda many times, but I wanted to come back with this. I stumbled onto this one. Oh, yeah, I want to back up what I'm saying. This is from Harvard. This is hardly a right-wing, far-right, Fox News, pro-Fox News group. This is from Harvard. Harvard study shows overwhelming anti-Trump media bias. This came from the people at the Shorenstein Center on Media and Politics and Public Policy. This is Harvard, May 2017, talking about the first 100 days. 98% of the coverage had negative tone. Really? Negative tone? Well, what do they call it now, where now they just say he's crazy? These are just Donnie Deutsch, crazy. Susan Rice, Donald Trump is crazy. James Clapper, the liar, Donald Trump is crazy. Everybody, oh, he's crazy. Now they're just down to say he's just crazy. That's how desperate they are, folks. Because, listen, there's a lot of people that are going to like, living in the America where we have the rule of law, where we don't have this deep swamp, where people like Hillary Clinton go to jail for treason and fraud. A lot of people were involved in that. There's all kinds of new information Jay Sekulow, the president's lawyer, has gotten about this whole case with Loretta Lynch and former President Bill Clinton on the plane, and all kinds of talking points. We're going to find out probably from Julian Assange that he'll officially be able to reveal, and also I hope one day soon reveal and prove that he did not get his information from the Russians. It'd be a bomb he dropped if he said it was something like Seth Rich, wouldn't it? But a lot of people, Susan Rice with all the continuing crimes of the unmasking and all the unmasking of everybody on Trump's staff, and them going after more felony, misuse of surveillance tools and the assets of law enforcement and the intelligence assets is unbelievable, to try to destroy an incoming president who you don't like their politics, who you're afraid you're going to go to jail over because of the stuff, the crime, fraud, and treason that you have committed. That's what we're down to. This is why they are hyperventilating. And if you just look at some of the things he's done, I mean, some people say, well, he's backtracking on his promise. Well, they're trying to stop him. But he got us out of the Paris Climate Accord, which is a total false ruse, scam against America. He got us out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the TPP. He's trying to build a wall. He's cut way down on illegal immigration. He may end the Dreamers program, DACA, because it could shield a lot of gang members. He's basically now rebranded the mainstream press as fake news. It's unbelievable that they were doubling down on their non-news treatment of Donald Trump, and just one running op-ed piece, one running this is our opinion of what's going on. We'll leave out any facts we like so we get our opinion across. It's absolutely unreal. But I will say there's one bright spot. Wall Street Journal editor admonishes reporters over Trump. This is not just my imagination about, them stating their them basically giving opinion. They're just one giant op-ed. Here we have the Wall Street Journal editor admonishes Trump reporters over Trump coverage. This is him in Phoenix in some of his big speeches. Gerald Baker, the editor-in-chief of the Wall Street Journal. Sorry, this is commentary dressed up as news reporting. Could we please just stick to reporting and what he said rather than package it in an exegesis and selective criticism? That's like deciphering Bible verses and things like that. Couldn't we just stick to the news reporting? Is what he's telling the reporters at the Wall Street Journal. And this is what I've said. Listen, if you want the reporters to toe the line, the bosses have to whip him into line. The reporters are like Jim Acosta, get to do what he's doing, not because he's such a great reporter. That's because he's a terrible reporter, and they like that. Jeff Zucker likes that. Oh, when AT&T buys the first person they're going to fire is Jeff Zucker. If I was taking over for CNN, I would be cleaning some house. I would turn that operation on its head and shake out all the junk. I'd be getting me some new blood instead of the old biased, old media junk, old dying people that are there and their dying ideas, and them trying to hold on and hang on to their dying ideas. I mean, I'm telling you, it's absolutely unbelievable. There's a 17-year-old, and there is hope. 17-year-old was commenting on Facebook, and basically his comment was, Facebook's for old people. So, I mean, listen, any of these companies can get very big and powerful, but they can lose their power pretty fast too. And speaking of some real news that nobody wants to cover, how about this last weekend in Chicago? 63 shot, 8 dead in Chicago's second most violent weekend of 2017. 63 shot, 8 dead. Anybody in the Democratic Party worried about those black people up there, or those Hispanics, those minorities up there shooting and murdering each other? No, not until election time, and then Trump's a racist. I mean, it's just that's that, and they don't have an idea. That is their idea. I haven't heard a single idea other than will it make Obamacare even more odorous, and we have a new deal, and they don't have any new ideas other than Donald Trump's a member of the KKK, and all 60 million people that voted for him are racist. And there's no evidence of voter fraud, even though there's a new poll out saying there's 3.5 million more voters, more registrations than there are voters. Oops. So this is why places like California don't want to be in the union anymore. They're going to lose power when their voter fraud is revealed, and it will be. And people say, hey, you committed fraud. You Democrats committed fraud against me, and I had to pay for your fraud. Oh, boy. And so that's why they don't want to give up the con. Here's another, an unbelievable weasel. I'm going to put my glasses on for this one. I saw this in USA Today, and I thought, wow, who did this? A full page at turn your backs on Trump. Turn your backs on Jay. Writes this idiotic diatribe without a single real reason to turn your back other than that he's disgusting and I don't like him. And it's this guy who he has this turn your backs, face our flag. And it's this guy, Dr. Dan Fisher. Well, you know what? Dr. Dan Fisher, he told his story, but didn't put his company name in there very big. And his company name, let me see if I can get this in here for you. Let me get right there. There you go. Ultradent. Let me get it in there, get him to focus. And there you go. Ultradent right here. Ultradent Products Incorporated, a proud American manufacturer that employs over 1,400 Americans. Can you imagine putting your business, Ultradent Products? Can you imagine putting your business on the line for some stupid stunt like this? Ultradent Products, they're dental products, toothbrushes, dental floss, toothbrush, brushes, paste, stuff like that. 1,400 employees, and I don't know what kind of world this guy wants to live in. Where Obamacare is sky high, where even the former President Bill Clinton says this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. You're paying a lot more in premiums, you have higher deductibles, and you get way less. I mean, this is crazy. Yeah, that world. So Mr. Ultradent. Don, did you ever think that maybe the 60 million people and all their families, maybe they won't buy Ultradent products? Did you ever think that you'd be sticking your business and your 1,400 employees on the line for a stunt like this, for being partisan, and you're trying to get a little plug with your Ultradent products, which is stupid, and then you're putting, you're turn your back on Trump? Let me tell you, number one, the people that you're asking to turn their back, they don't believe in the American flag. They're Antifa. They're communists. They don't believe in the country. They're globalists. They don't believe in America or make America great again. So you telling them to turn their back on the flag. They've already done it, man. Ultradent Products. Ultradent Products. Maybe people wouldn't buy Ultradent Products. Maybe you putting an ad in the paper and you trying to get a little free publicity for Ultradent Products. Maybe that might backfire. Ultradent Products. Some more real news, and this bothers me. This is a AP story. Fourth collision triggers review of U.S. fleet. We're talking about ships that have run into each other. The latest, the John S. McCain. The sophisticated naval ship. We had other ships run aground. We had other ships run into fishing vessels. We have the USS Fitzgerald that also got into trouble running into that's something's crazy. That they're worried about hacking. They're worried about treason. Our Navy is obviously not ready to go to war. This is why Trump wants to rebuild the military, I think, because we basically gutted our military. The last administration, the Obama administration, didn't do much for our military. Really didn't. And we have people, China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and I know there's going to be, oh, they never did anything to us. We've got people that hate us. And you could say that all you want, but, we do have, at the very least, rivals, and in some cases, enemies. And so we need a strong military, and the stronger military you have, the least likely you'll have to use it in an all-out global confrontation. But I digress. I mean, here we are now with the latest that Trump is, doubling down on Afghanistan, and he plans to end the war by bringing the Taliban to the negotiating table, and that ain't worked in 16 years. So I don't know. Russia's warning about this. That's a real danger, and so we have wars and rumors of wars, civil wars, chaos. We have, the Pentagon basically admonishing the KKK and Nazis while the Pentagon is giving arms to the Nazis in the Ukraine. You can't make that up, folks. You just can't make that up. You have, tensions mounting with Iran, North Korea, the South China Sea. We having our ships run aground and running into things, that they don't understand why. Could be hacking. It could be treason. It could be incompetence. I mean, who knows? But, there is all kinds of flashpoints in the world, including a huge flashpoint with our politics. I also have Charles Denner coming on, and about a year ago, I was talking about, this time in 2016, and, that won't happen now, the election, I think it's going to be fine. We did have a mini crash right after Donald Trump was elected, limit down, and of course, the Exchange Trade Stabilization Fund and the central bankers propped all that up, and some of it came from Donald Trump, cutting regulations and having hope to get a tax cut and all this other stuff, but Denner said it wouldn't happen last year, not going to happen. But he did say, look out for 2017. I've got him booked, coming up pretty soon. And he says, if you're not positioned correctly, you could lose everything you have. And so I talked to him just today. So Charles Denner, the great cycle, stock market guy, is going to be coming on soon to USA Watch. So happy to have him. More investment news. This is just, I'm not trying to drub you over the head. There is some good news. We do have some good news. Trump taking over is a heck of a lot better and a game changer from Hillary, and has done some good for the economy just by cutting red tape and trying to get projects going and stop the wasteful money. I think he saved $100 billion already with some of the stuff he's done. All these regulations cut. I mean, this is going to help the economy, but we got a lot of headwinds, and there's a lot of problems that happened before Donald Trump. But here we have just a metric here. New home sales plunged 9.4% in July, falling to 7-month lows. This is the Commerce Department, shadowstats.com, and he's calling for a downturn. And here's a big component of a downturn, a big tell, and that is in the dominant but still faltering manufacturing sector, a record 115 months of continued non-expansion with no end in sight. This is why Donald Trump wants to try to get some of this, $2-3 trillion brought back home so companies can spend it and put people to work and innovate and hire people. I mean, that's just really what the Trump administration is all about. God bless him for that, I got to tell you. I want to talk about Hurricane Harvey, and I saved it to the end because it's not going to happen until next week. But boy, if it's half as much as they think it's going to be, and it's not so much the winds that are the problem with Hurricane Harvey, it's where it's going to hit and what it's going to dump. I mean, if you look at this, these bands are bands of rain. And in this area right here, this is right This is headquarters of 30 different refineries that process 7 million barrels a day for fuel and gasoline and diesel. And this is all right here. And this is some of the rain totals are astronomical. I mean, they're saying up to 30 inches right here. It's saying that it could be 24 plus. In the Houston area and southwestern Louisiana. One guy said, listen, if we get, 20, 25 inches, we could be shut down. Check this out, from 18 months to 36 months. Folks, fill your vehicles up and keep them filled up. Make sure your cars are filled. If you have gasoline cans, for your mower and stuff like that, you need to mix up some fuel for your chainsaw, whatever. You better keep your cars filled up, because if this gets knocked out in the Gulf Coast, the Houston, Texas, and Louisiana area, holy smokes, this is going to take one analyst 18 to 36 months. Let's just say it's 6 months. Could you imagine how high fuel prices could spike? We might be seeing $4, $5, $6 a gallon for gasoline again, if we can get it. So be on the lookout. I hope they're totally wrong. I hope Harvey's rainfall doesn't end up being 30 inches or 25 inches or whatever. But, you start talking a foot, 2 feet of rain in a short amount of time, and the hurricane may get stuck there. Woo! Man, that could cause a lot of problems. For the refinery sector, and that's pretty much where it is here in the United States. There are some other refineries, but that's a big chunk of our refining capacity in the Gulf states, Houston, Louisiana, and places like that. Thank you for supporting USA Watchdog with your comments and donations. That really helps us out. And remember, folks, fear not. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, above all, spiritually. Fear not. God the Father and His Son, Jesus Christ, are in control.